All right, so moving on to the next segment, we're going to pivot over here to the world of basketball inside the NBA world, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on Nico Harrison being fired by the Dallas Mavericks. So the news broke today. A former general manager for the Dallas Mavericks, Nico Harrison, has been fired by the franchise after being the general manager for the last 4 years in the NBA with the Dallas Mavericks. So I'll be sharing my thoughts on Nico Harrison being fired by the Mavericks. Honestly, this was probably the best news that the Dallas Mavericks fans could have received in the last 9 to 12 months. It's been a building suspense for Nico Harrison to be fired by the franchise as the general manager. Honestly, he was lucky enough to have this job after the big trade that happened in February 1st. And even getting the number 1 overall pick this past summer, getting Cooper Flagg to Dallas wasn't even enough to save his damn job. I mean, looking at the mess that Nico Harrison created, you traded away your best player in the prime of his career, Luka Doncic. This was the best damn player that the Dallas Mavericks had since Dirk Nowitzki was a player for the Dallas Mavericks. This is a guy, Luka, that loved the city of Dallas. Probably would have loved to retire with the Mavericks just like Dirk did. You probably could have built a statue of him outside the arena, but that ain't happening because you traded him in the prime of his career for Anthony Davis, who is one of a top 75 player of all time, yes. But this isn't prime AD anymore. This is an Anthony Davis who is 32 years of age and is injury prone. You traded him to get him to Dallas and trade away Luka. And this is 12 months after Luka Doncic just helped you get to the NBA Finals. And then not only that, he has destroyed a championship roster over the years. Because Nico Harrison, as the general manager, had Luka Doncic, he had Jalen Brunson, he had Norman Powell, he had Porzingis. All those players are no longer a part of the Dallas Mavericks. And a lot of that goes to the blame of Nico Harrison. And the Dallas Mavericks this year, it's a shit show. They're 3-8. Anthony Davis is hurt. Kyrie Irving is still recovering from a torn ACL. This team, and Klay Thompson is washed. I don't know if it's him dating Megan Thee Stallion or not. He can't hit a three like prime Klay anymore. The roster is nowhere near a championship caliber team right now. And I think a full reset's going to happen in Dallas. It has to. I mean, the fan base is just absolutely pissed off right now. And the best thing that just happened for him was getting rid of the general manager, Nico Harrison, that the fan base could not stand much longer. The fan base hated this guy. They were chanting. I mean, I'm watching games on ESPN or however I watch my games on the box. I'm watching fans literally chant, "Fire Nico Harrison." Fire him at home Dallas Maverick games. So, for the Dallas Mavericks rebuild, they can get a lot of interest for players because at this point you have no choice but to go in the rebuild route. There's a lot of interest that you could get from players here. Anthony Davis, he's not the same Anthony Davis in the past that helped LeBron win a title in LA or the same Anthony Davis that he once was with the Pelicans. But there's a lot of teams that would call the Dallas Mavericks if Anthony Davis did become available. Kyrie Irving, same thing with him. A lot of teams would love Kyrie to be their second and third scoring option. D'Angelo Russell, you get him to be a backup guard on a contending team. PJ Washington could be a really serviceable role player for a contending team. Like, these are the pieces that the Dallas Mavericks are going to have to ship out of Dallas if they want to be a contending team again. Because a full rebuild has to happen. You're going to have to get draft capital. You're going to have to trade away these players to build around Cooper Flagg, who is now going to be your franchise player. Because Kyrie Irving is older. Anthony Davis is older. These are older veteran players that are injured or not the same, or not in their primes anymore. You could throw Klay Thompson in there too. He's past his prime. So I think all those names that I just mentioned could be good, solid second or third scoring options of a contending team. And of course, players or teams and players would still want Klay Thompson on their team, but as a bench player. But it's not all Nico Harrison's fault why the Dallas Mavericks are in this position. He was just a general manager. There's more jobs in the front office and more fingers that need to be pointed at the front office more than anything. I remember Michael Finley, after the Dallas Mavericks defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals back in 2024, Luka Doncic cracked open a beer just to celebrate, probably feel better that they're 4 games away from winning an NBA title, right? Do you guys remember Michael Finley, someone that's in the front office for the Dallas Mavericks, literally took Luka Doncic's beer away and didn't even let him celebrate the fact that they were Western Conference champions and going to the NBA Finals. Where's the blame for him for all of this? Do you guys remember who Patrick Dummett is? Patrick Dummett is the president of the Dallas Mavericks, who waited until Nico Harrison was fired this morning to admit that the Luka Doncic trade was a mistake. Huh? It was a mistake when you even picked up the phone to call the Los Angeles Lakers to make this trade happen or even propose this trade. So the fact, I find it funny that no one else is blaming anybody else but Nico Harrison is hilarious. Now, I'm not saying that Nico Harrison deserved to be fired. He did deserve to be fired, not backing him up. But I'm just saying, if you're going to point the finger at Nico Harrison, point the finger at the following two names that I just mentioned in the entire front office that the Dallas Mavericks have, because they're all responsible for this. I don't understand how you trade a generational player like Luka Doncic in the prime of his career, and you were just 4 games away from winning an NBA title a year ago just to basically blow this up. Because that's exactly what the Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks front office just did. Blew it up. I mean, again, you were chanting fire Nico Harrison at majority of the Dallas Mavericks games. The Mavericks are 3-8. This is still, in my opinion, the most wildest trade in sports history. One of the most wildest trades in sports history. Trading away Luka Doncic in the prime of his career. And now the Dallas Mavericks are going to pay for it for a long time, because do you guys see how good the Los Angeles Lakers and Luka Doncic look this season? And we're just getting started with his era in LA. Wait until they give him that max contract. Wait until they fully build around Luka Doncic in LA. The Mavericks are just going to be upset about it. The fan base is going to forever be upset about it. One of the bizarre trades of all time, because you're never getting them back. And majority of the blame has to go to Nico Harrison. But I do point the finger at the front office. But those are my thoughts on Nico Harrison being fired as the general manager by the Dallas Mavericks.